What's up, everybody? Today, I figured I'd make a video on how to value stocks. It's been a little bit since I did a video like this. The last one was months ago, where I showed you my thoughts on valuation and how I look at businesses that I'm not very familiar with. That video didn't perform as well. I guess most people on YouTube like videos where I present, 2 or 3 cheap or undervalued companies or something like that. Well, today, I think I am presenting you an undervalued business. So I hope in addition to maybe learning something about valuation, we're both also going to learn something about Supreme PLC, this company right here. As always, if you get value out of the video, subscribe to my channel. If you want access to my Google Sheets template, want to join the Discord, or get access to my website, then consider following me on Patreon. Link to that will be down below. Now, let's get into Supreme. This is a company I've been looking at for a couple days. I thought it would be perfect for a video like this. When you think of Supreme, you probably are thinking of this clothing brand here, and that's not the company we're talking about today. This company manufactures and distributes consumer goods in mostly the UK, but some other countries too. And whenever I start looking at a business, I open my spreadsheet, I put the ticker in, and I hit load. Shameless self-plug right here. So if you were looking up Google, for example, just put the ticker in, hit load, and the sheet's going to load in a price chart, a whole bunch of fundamentals about your business, and a description. And for Supreme, when we do that, we see that this company only has a market cap of 170 million pounds. This is a very small business. Now, right away for me, when I start looking at a company, I'm trying to find reasons to say no. I'm trying to find reasons to just discard this business and move on to another one. There are thousands of companies in the stock market. Even if you limit yourself to just the S&P 500, that's 500 businesses right there. You don't have time to do a deep dive into every company. I don't want to waste time looking at a business that is not going to be a fit for my portfolio. So I'm trying to say no. Now, some reasons I might reject a business very quickly is it's just not in an area that I want to look at. If this is a biotech stock and they have a drug that's in its phase 3 trial, I'm just probably not going to be interested in that business. I'm not an expert in that space. A lot of drugs fail. I don't know why I would have a better understanding of their drug than the rest of the market. Or perhaps we're looking at a tech company that's operating in an industry that I really don't understand. It might be interesting. It might even be a great investment, but it's probably not going to be a fit for me. A business doesn't have to be simple, doesn't have to be extremely easy to understand, but it's certainly a plus. Now for Supreme, they say they supply and distribute a range of consumer goods in the UK. The company operates through 5 divisions: batteries, lighting, vaping, sports and nutrition, and consumer household goods. They supply their products to discount retailers, wholesalers, and supermarkets. So this doesn't sound like a complicated business. I've looked at businesses that are in this space. Companies that own brands, that manufacture and distribute those brands. I'm also familiar with some other parts of this supply chain. Recently, actually, we looked at some discount retailers in the UK. We looked at B&M, which also owns Heron Foods. When we were doing that, I looked at some of their competitors like Home Bargains. These are the companies that are going to be clients of Supreme. Supreme is selling their products wholesale to, the B&Ms of the world, the Tescos of the world. So great, we haven't rejected the business yet. Now, next thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at some quick valuation metrics. And I can see that this business is trading for, 6 to 7 times operating income. For a business that's been growing its top line while maintaining, reasonably steady-ish margins, that sounds like a very cheap company. Now, I just want to clarify, at this point, we don't know if this business is expensive or cheap. There's tons of things about the company that we're simply not aware of right now. I'm just trying to find a reason to reject this business and to move on to something else. For example, if I'm looking at a retailer and they have, single-digit growth on the top line, and they're trading for maybe a 30 times multiple, then I'm probably just going to move on. Now, I might quickly look at their operating income and see, maybe there was just a lull in operating income this year. Maybe that's why the multiple looks high, but it's really not very high. Maybe this is a company that's just flipping into profitability, and that's why it looks like there's an expensive multiple. But, I can see that margins are improving year on year on year. If that's the case, I'm probably going to continue looking at the business. But there are many companies right now with markets at all-time highs where the business has single-digit top-line growth and is trading for 20, 30 times multiple. And for many of those companies, I just know it's unlikely to be a fit for me. It's unlikely to offer the risk-reward that I'm looking for, so I'm going to pass. Am I going to miss out on some great investments this way? Yeah, I am. But I'm also going to save my time to use on businesses that have a greater chance of being extremely undervalued. Think about it this way. Imagine there's 2 haystacks, and I tell you that in haystack number 1, there's 5 needles. In haystack number 2, there's 500 needles. If you're searching for needles in a haystack, you better spend your time looking in haystack number 2. Of course, there's going to be a few needles in haystack number 1 that you're going to miss out on. But you cannot do a deep dive into every business, so you just got to fish where the fish are. I know I'm mixing my metaphors now, but you get the point. So now we have a business that's operating in an area I like, I think I can understand. They manufacture and distribute consumer goods. The company looks cheap relative to its growth. If a company has stagnant growth and it's trading for, a 15 times multiple, I'll probably reject it. Whereas if a company has extremely strong growth and high margins, then if it has a 20 times multiple, I'm probably still interested. We're looking for something that's cheap relative to fundamentals. I'm probably going to look at operating margins at this point. Have margins been consistent? For this business, we see, they've been around 10 to 15-ish% operating margins. Whether that's a high margin or a low margin is going to depend on the industry that your company is operating in. A 12% margin would be an absurdly high margin for a health insurance company, but that actually might be a low margin for certain kinds of tech businesses. So it helps to be familiar with the industry, with the sector to know, are these decent margins? I've looked at a bunch of consumer brands and, margins in the 10 to 15% range, pretty reasonable. I'm also going to look at net debt. If debt is very high, that's a red flag. It's not a no for me. I own companies with reasonably high levels of debt, but it adds to the risk. And if a company was close to me saying no to it before, that just might be something that flips me over the edge and says, I'm just not interested in this business. I'm going to move on to the next one. For Supreme, we have a business with very low net debt, nice consistent margins. They aren't diluting shareholders. Cash flow is strong. It looks cheap. So at this point, it's time to dive deeper into the business. Now, for me, at this point, probably 90% of companies I've just eliminated. I've already said no to the business. And as you look at more and more companies, you're probably going to develop the ability to just say no to a lot of them really quickly too. The companies you say no to, probably going to be different than the ones that I say no to. There's going to be sectors that you're interested in, that you know a ton about, that I'm really not experienced with, and I'm just going to pass on. That's okay. The important thing is we just don't want to waste time looking at a bunch of businesses that we're never going to invest in. So typically now I would go to the company's investor relations page and see, do they have a presentation? I just want to get familiar with the business. Most companies are going to have an investor presentation, some don't. Here we see they break down their brands into 3 main divisions: vaping, drinks and wellness, and electricals and household. And they own a lot of different brands. This is quite a number of brands here. So already I'm getting the sense that this is probably a company that is going out and they are acquiring brands. That's part of the business model. Some brands, they're just the distribution arm for. Margins for distribution, typically lower than for a brand that you own. You're manufacturing it yourself. You control basically the entire chain there. As far as who their customers are, who they're selling to, they say they have 55,000 retail sites. Lots of big names on here. If you live in the UK, I'm sure you know most of these. Even if you don't live in the UK, you probably know a bunch of these. There are a number of discount retailers on here. Home Bargains, B&M is here, Poundland. Poundland's actually been going through some trouble recently. I wonder if that's had any effect on this company. Looking at their financial highlights, this is kind of similar to what we were seeing in our sheet. Revenue, top line, and bottom line have been growing nicely over recent years. 17% top line increase in first half of 2026. That seems quite large. And they say a lot of that's driven by acquisitions, Clearly Drinks, Taifu. So this is the business model here. They own brands. Those brands spin off a bunch of cash. They use that cash to go out and buy more brands. Organic growth seems low. They say top line grew about £4 million from core activities. That's about 3%. It's not much. There's nothing wrong with growing through acquisitions. Some investors might prefer to see organic growth. Now, we're always going to want to look at management, but especially for a company that's growing through acquisitions, you're going to want to make sure that who's ever making that call, who's ever making the decisions on what brands to acquire, you're going to want to make sure they're aligned with us common shareholders and that you think they're a good decision maker. They go through a few of their acquisitions here, and now they break it down into the divisions. Remember, they said we have 3 main divisions. The first one, vaping. And we can see this is the big category for this company. £130 million on the top line in fiscal year 25. That's more than half of top line revenue. So this is a big part of the business. And as we go, I'm forming questions in my head, things I just want to know about this company, things I'm curious about. Like, what's the vaping market like in the UK? What are the regulations around this market? They say successful transition from disposables to replacement devices. Why did they transition? These are questions you're going to want to find the answers to. I might go look them up now, look them up later. You might happen to already know that the UK banned disposable vapes this year, and that's the reason why they had to transition over. Your natural curiosity is probably going to lead you to more questions. Are the margins different on these new vapes? Are they going to have some increased capex to switch over some manufacturing? Is there any other regulation in the UK I should know about when it comes to vapes? And as you go and look up answers to those questions, you might find out that, yeah, there's a new tax that's coming out on vapes in 2026. Now, moving on, drinks and wellness. This has grown a ton. Again, most of the growth from acquisitions. They say organic growth of £1 million year on year. Considering the last year top line was, between 15 and 20 million pounds, 1 million organic growth year on year, that's actually not bad. That's over 5% organic growth, and then the rest from acquisitions here. Now, where organic growth is poor, even negative, that's going to be in electricals and household. The core of this business used to be batteries and then also selling lights. I think this piece is just in secular decline. More and more items have rechargeable batteries, light bulbs last longer. Demand is probably just going to keep on going down here. Also, they used to distribute batteries for Panasonic, and they recently pulled out of the UK market. So overall, probably not the most exciting segment. Now they present the financial statements. You're always going to want to look at the financial statements, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement. They all tell a piece of the story. Here we see operating expenses growing a bit faster than gross profit. They call out some reasons for that. National insurance, this is essentially payroll tax in the UK. It's gone up. These are the kind of things we're going to want to keep in mind when we're forecasting margins going forward for this business. As far as the top line of this, roughly £20 million increase, about £15 million came from acquisitions. And even when you take into account the decline in batteries and lighting here, the rest of the business is actually still growing. On their balance sheet, they have very little debt. That's nice to see. Effectively, this company is able to grow and acquire all these other brands and businesses with just the cash flow that they're generating. They don't need to lever themselves up. In fact, not only are they acquiring businesses, they're also paying back a little bit of money to shareholders in the form of a dividend. It's not a large dividend. We see about, 3.5% yield, but still, it's nice to see. Now, that's pretty much the end of this presentation here. At this point, if I'm still interested in the business, I might look to see if they have a write-up on Value Investors Club. This is an incredible resource, by the way, if you're not familiar with this site. However, in the case of Supreme, there are no write-ups here. Next thing I might do is I'll search YouTube for the business and I'll see, can I hear the CEO talk about the company? In the case of Supreme, I found this 50-ish minute long video of the CEO basically just presenting the business case for the company. I thought it was really interesting. The channel is called Microcap Club. Also, the hosts of this presentation or podcast, whatever you wish to call it. They asked a bunch of interesting questions to the CEO. For example, they asked, how are you able to find these acquisitions? Why are you able to buy these companies, these brands at good prices? For the record, a lot of the brands that they're acquiring here, they're acquiring these things with, 2 to 3 year payback periods. They're making their money back on these brands very quickly. The CEO says, well, it's a few things. First of all, we're able to move fast. We pay cash. We're able to close deals quickly. He says there's tons of brands that they're looking at, and he doesn't think that the acquisition opportunities are going to dry up anytime soon. Also on YouTube, pretty much every investor presentation from this company is up there. They have very few views, only a couple hundred views. I didn't just watch the most recent presentation, I watched the last several, and let me say, if you're going to look at an older presentation, for me, the stuff to look at is the question and answers. This is where most of the good content is. It's not, the management just going through their scripted remarks. I want to hear the questions people have. I want to hear what management says about it. And also another thing, I want to look at what was management's forecast? What was their outlook for the company? If I go back a year, 2 years ago, 3 years, and I just hear, what is the management saying about their outlook? And then what happened? Does management tend to be conservative and outperform? Or do they tend to overpromise? And to be honest, the more I looked at this business, the more I liked it. The company did tend to outperform what they said. The CEO seems to be conservative. And by the way, speaking of the CEO, when you're betting on Supreme, you're really betting on the CEO. He owns an absolutely massive amount of this business, about 64 million shares. This guy right here, he's been running the company for over a couple decades and he owns 54% of the business. I love to see an owner that is this aligned with shareholders, that clearly has the long-term value of the business as their top priority, not some short-term metric. In the annual report, I found that the CEO is taking a salary of £325,000 a year. That's absolutely nothing compared to the market value of his shares. So honestly, there's many things I like about this business. Now, when I feel ready, after I've gone through enough of their annual report, their presentations, looked up all the questions I had about, the vaping market, regulations in the UK, eventually I'm going to get to the point where I want to put in some assumptions for the future and see what could I expect for a return on my investment in Supreme stock. Now, I want to put conservative numbers in here. They continue to find incredible acquisition opportunities, and I think it's probably likely they will continue to do so going forward. But even if they don't, even if I just want to look at, what does this scenario look like where they just can't acquire anything and they just have to return value to shareholders in the form of dividends because they don't have a better purpose for the money. Well, if that's the case, right now the core business, if you ignore the acquisitions, they're growing, maybe 4-ish%. If I bring that back and say the core business is just going to grow roughly in line with inflation, I'm going to give them 2% growth on the top line. Operating margins of 12-ish% seem fair for this business. And free cash flow margin, the money that's coming back to us shareholders, is going to increase a bit because, they're not acquiring any companies. 8% free cash flow margin, I think, is reasonably conservative when I'm just looking at the cash that their businesses are generating. And if I give this company just a 7 times multiple, which by the way is roughly what they're trading for now, and certainly not a demanding multiple for a well-run business with a bunch of brands that's reasonably diversified. I mean, still about half of this top line is coming from vaping. So I still have some question marks there, but really this is not a demanding multiple. And in this scenario, you're looking at more than a double over 5 years, 16% annualized return on this stock. If, on the other hand, I reduce the free cash flow margin and I say, dividends are not going to be any higher going forward, and instead they're going to use that money to buy brands. Top line has grown in the high teens, but if I think that their acquisitions going forward aren't going to be quite as successful as they have been in the past, and they're able to grow top line 10% through acquisition, then still with a 7 times multiple, you're looking at an 18% annualized return on this stock today, more than a double. I think the numbers I've put in here for my base case are quite conservative. If you assume that the acquisitions going forward are going to be as successful as they've been in the past, or if you give this company any kind of multiple expansion, I mean, giving a business like this a 10 times multiple is still nothing extravagant. But if you do that, you're looking at more than a triple on this business over 5 years. It's easy to see how this company could be a multi-bagger. And just to quickly dummy check myself by putting numbers into a bear case, if I assume that there will be no growth at all on the top line, this is in spite of the fact that they're almost certainly going to be acquiring more brands, and I assume that the cash they give back to shareholders in the form of dividends, it's not going to go up. So effectively, they continue to use cash to acquire brands, but they're all failures and none of it results in any growth on the top line for 5 years. And the operating margins continue to compress down to 10%, which would basically be the bottom end of their range. And if I give this company just a 6 times multiple, I mean, these are the assumptions you would have to put in to be flat on your money over 5 years. I don't see this scenario happening. To me, after spending some time looking at this business, I think the risk reward looks really good here. You can see the stock has been up and down quite a bit over the past few years. It did dip under £1 in 2022, 2023. I think that was a fantastic opportunity to buy this company. I love to buy businesses on the cheap. If we're patient and we wait and we look at a large number of businesses, then a lot of times opportunities just come to us. This stock is traded on the London Stock Exchange, so the price is in pence. And if I can buy this company for, 110, 120 pence, then in my base case alone, I'd be looking at close to a triple on this stock. I don't know if the price will ever get that low. I actually think it's a reasonable buy right now. But I do have some questions about how the 2026 tax on vapes will affect the vaping business, which again is still about half of their top line. So I think for me, I'm just going to add this company to my watch list. Maybe fear around vapes will cause this stock to sell off even more later this year. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I like the company. This is exactly what I look for. Cheap, well-run businesses that I think the market is just completely overlooking. A small cap UK consumer brand company sure sounds like something the market is not going to like right now. And I think this could be an opportunity. So if you got value out of the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want access to the Discord or my Google Sheets template right here, consider following me on Patreon. And by the way, thank you so much to the Patreon user who recommended I look at this stock. The There are definitely people on the Discord who are looking for value, and I really appreciate it. I learn from all of you as well. And if you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video, leave that down in a comment below, and I hope to see you all in another video.